What's up, everybody? As you can tell, I still have my hat on now. I was just outside, and it's still hot. It's still hot. On yesterday, our son had his first football tournament for this year, and I ended up before getting out to the location. I kind of knew that I needed something to at least give me some sort of relief, some sort of shade. So I ended up buying this hat. And it's a little country. It's not necessarily a country, but you know, a lot of people that live in the country, works in the fields, have on hats like this, help protect them for the sun. So I decided to buy this hat. And excuse me, when I went outside for a quick second, I went to the car and I saw this hat, and I decided to put it on. I was like, you know what? Let me make a quick, let me make another episode, make a quick video for the day it was over of my hats or living from the country. Um, a lot of things that happened to me, I can remember. I was 5 years old. I mean, I don't know why being 5 years old is stuck in my mind. But I was born and raised on a farm type lifestyle. It wasn't no hee haw type, just shucking and jiving type thing. But I was a country boy down here in Manning. But at that time, my family, my a lot of my family members, like my uncle, my two, I have other aunts, but two aunts in particular. My mom, my grandma. Um, Everybody at that point was living, working on the farm. Um, and and the individual that owned the farm allowed them to, as long as they were still working for him, they were allowed to live in those little houses he had around the field on the farm. Pretty much, back then, I was young. I hear my aunts and uncles and everybody call it the quarters. But as time went on, I came to realize that those, when they said the quarters, it was short for slave quarters. Because as long as, just like I said earlier, as long as my family, just my mom, my grandma, my uncles, my aunts were living in the house and working for him, we had to pay no rent and all like that. But as soon as we get another job, we had to leave his property. But those houses, um, I said like this: the storage sheds that they have today is turning out to be just as good or better than the houses that we used to live in on the farm. We lived in a little town called Alkaloo. It's Manning Alkaloo about the same a little bit, but Alkaloo further in the country. Manning is the next town over, a little bit more of a city style type place than Alkaloo. But these houses that we lived in, particular, didn't have no running water. We didn't have no bathroom. If we did have electricity, maybe one little, just like if you was to run electrical wire from one room to the next, guess how we had lights in the house. We had one electrical light come from the ceiling, and some things, if you want something else to be lit, you have to use the extension cord to go to the next room. Well, I think these individual rooms had their own one light hanging from the ceiling, and maybe one electrical outlet, but you have to have extension cords for that. We didn't have no heat, no air conditioning. The way we provide heat was with a wooden stove, we call it potbelly stove. We provide air conditioning is with a regular box fan that we have these days. Um, if we had to use the bathroom, we had to use a 5-gallon bucket, or we had an outhouse. Water, we had an old time pump, a well, put the pump water out of it. Some of that water is really, really cold. Well, it's cold. Sometimes it's better than some whatever, but it didn't have no filter, so it was coming straight out of the ground as far as, well water. Um, Insulation in there, none, if little or none at all. Um, we there was That's just like putting wood paneling on the outside, wood paneling on the inside, no insulation in between. There were points in the house whereas you could see straight through to the outside, and the way we cut or cover that hole up is with old cloths, rags, clothing, newspaper, or whatever. Where we heat up water is on the potbelly stove or a fire on the outside. Summer months, if you want to take a bath, we had a big silver wash tub, or however you want to call it. Put it out of there in the middle of the yard that morning. And while during the summer months it was hot, and during the afternoon before it get too dark, and the water get too cold, we would let the natural sunlight from the heat up that water, so we were able to take a quick bath. Or once we get that, get a big pot with water in it, heat it up, and pour it in there with the water that was already in the tub, so we can have a kind of a even amount of heat to take a bath. Winter months, if it wasn't just bird baths, we had to bring the tub in there, and kind of the same way, but it would take more water to heat off the stove and pour it in that tub rather than that. Wash with the tub, scrubboard, dryer. You had to get 2, 3, or 4 posts, stick it in the ground, and get some wire, chicken wire, or however you want to call it, and string it from one post to the other. Put a 2x4 on top of the on the post, where you could run 2 wires up and one on each side, so you can have more room. Or you might be lucky enough to get 2, 3, or 4 wires on that. It all depends on how long the 2x4 is on that pole. You can hang up your clothes on that type of deal. But that's how we dealt with living in the country from that point. Back then we wasn't as stressed as far, because light bill really wasn't much of nothing. Well, I would say at the time it wasn't much of nothing compared to what was going on now. The neighbor across the street, which was still kind of family, I would say, neighbors across the street, they had a house phone. So we was doing, if we want to make long list of calls, we made the calls. And when the phone bill come, he would highlight the long list of calls or whatever that we made. And we was responsible for paying that particular call on that particular bill. When time to go to town on Saturday, I or work doing the farm, on the farm all during the week. And when time to go to town, he had pickup truck where, as he had a camper. Sometimes he had a camper on it or not, but individuals, if you want to go to town for that day, get groceries or shopping or whatever. Um, my mom and them had to pay like between $3 to $5 a piece to go to town, and so he made a pretty good change doing that, being a transport. But on that same vehicle, he used it. Of course, we won't be back there like that, but he used that vehicle to sometimes carry his hogs to the market. So just imagine, the sanitation in sanitation issues that came about, but definitely he would make sure everything was clean and stuff like that before we would get on there. We would got back on there. But that's what we dealt with living in the country. A lot of people say, "Man, I can't live in the country." But yeah, peace and quiet. That's one thing for sure. An individual come out there, and there ain't no other reason to come out there if you ain't looking for nothing. You just gotta say, "Well, I'm just passing by." No, you ain't just ain't passing by here. Well, what's out here? Nothing. Nothing but cornfield, tomato field, watermelon, potato, cucumber. Oh yeah, living in the country too. Is once I got older, one way to help my mom out, and one way my mom instilled work in us is that summer months we had to go work on the farm in order to buy our school clothes. So things that we've done is picking cucumbers out the field, sweet potato, white potatoes out the field. If we were a little bit older than some of the rest, we might would have crop tobacco. And hopefully at the end of this video, I can find a way to show you the picture of the old tobacco barn that they used to hang up tobacco. I think I still have it somewhere. A picture I have it on there. And the old house that the owner of the farm lived in. Of course, long dirt roads. One thing about it is where we live, all the good crops, let's say like tomatoes, watermelon, whatever, they were planted closer to his house. Because I guess, of course people might say stealing, whatever, but hey, you got to make it in order to survive. In order to survive, you got to do what you do. So by our house, it was more corn being planted, soybeans being planted. One thing one of my uncles told me that, whatever thing that I learned or habit I picked up was that he's saying that if you help them or ever have to go into the cornfield by yourself and some corn happens to follow you back out there, make sure you go in the middle of the cornfield to get what you're going to get, because you wouldn't want the farmer to drive by this fields and see some of the corn missing from the stalk. You have to definitely go in the middle to see what's missing. Once it's time to harvest the corn and you see some certain things missing, then he might think animals might have done that, or wild hogs or deers or whatever we might call it might be in there taking it, but he wouldn't thought that we was one that's in there taking it to, taking it and storing it, and part of it to survive, not being hungry. So that's one thing, is going in the middle of the field, take it out of there, and come on out of there, because if you ever get caught, then that farmer might could take a gun of some sort, a gun of some a gun of some sort, and then shoot it down the roads, just to make sure no individual animals or whatever is still down there. But you never know what might happen. Um, Living in the country has been a very humbling experience, because once we were able to leave that place, that farmer's place, we were able to move into a house that actually had running water, actually had the proper lighting, and the bathroom that we had, thank goodness, was it was just a back porch that was closed in with a door on it, and that individual made a bathroom out of it. In that bathroom was a sink, was the commode, and it was the old timey tubs with like a like an eagle's claw, whatever, on the four parts of it, as the foot of the tub. So once we lived there, so we thought we moved up in the world, just like the Jeffersons, moving on up to the east side. So living in the country has been a very humbling experience, and that taught you a lesson as far as being grateful for what you have, because where you've been before, who has a mighty, you don't want to go backwards in life, man. But living in the country and being able to, because some of these city folks might say, man, I can't live like that. But I'm saying like this, we living in the country, as long as you got transportation, you can make it happen. Sometimes country is the best place to live. You ain't got to deal with the individual. Of course, you ain't got to pay for no water bill, because you ain't got the real water coming out the ground. Sewage. Back then, you had to worry about I guess, throwing the trash, because you got big uh, oil drums that are used as, containers, and you can use it as old barrel, where if you got trash like paper and plastic, or however you want to call it, we probably recycle the bottles or aluminum or whatever, but just throw, burn the trash in the barrel, trash barrel. They call them trash barrels. So we ain't got real about that. But taxes is different in the country than the city. So every place, the city and this country has an advantage. But living in the country it make you more of a humble person. It definitely make you more of a humble person, and make you. I'm not saying make you more of a survival person, but you can take a person out of the country or the city, but you can't take that take that out of them. So you have to make each individual decision as far as how you gonna make it work with what you got. But living in the country is not life threatening, but like I said, you can be on more of a survival mode, rather than, because some things you can't do in the city limits that you can do in the country, for sure. But right then and there, it tells you, how you become up. So that's one good thing about living in the country. Until it happens, you wouldn't know what you're gonna do.